Good evening, friends. And this is the week 51. We are celebrating Christmas in the season, you may say. Christmas is about to come. And the title for this reading is What Was the Star of Bethlehem? So, as I was just looking and searching for the meaning of this word Bethlehem, and I just Googled it, and they said that it is a word which is made of two things. One is Beth, and the other is Lehem. Whereas where Beth means house, and Lehem means bread. So you can say Bethlehem means the house of bread. So, which actually is a very interesting analogy here, because if you see, Swamiji explained that the star was rising in the east, and there is a lot of symbolism associated with that. The three wise men, those who came and paid visit to the Christ's birth, they came from India, he said, and they were none other than Babaji, Lahari Mahashay, and Swami Shri Yukteswarji. So, what is it that Bethlehem is all about? Why are we talking of this? Is it, and Bethlehem we know is a place near Jerusalem where Christ was born, and 2000 years ago, and the whole drama and the whole Leela happened the way it had to happen, because it was the divinity taking form on the planet. As Swami has also explained in this reading, that it was nothing but divine consciousness coming on the planet in that form. So why are we taking, so Bethlehem, when we say house of bread, is also, what is the house of bread? This our own body, which is made of bread only, as we call it, the Annamaya Kosha in the Ayurveda. And if our body is the house of bread, then where is the star? So if you see, the star is symbolic of the Christ consciousness, as we know in the yoga practice, that at the point between the eyebrows, we are symbolizing here the star which we see as a part of spiritual eye, and that is the star of Bethlehem, which it is symbolized in this reading. So, but why are we concerned about the star? So that is the subject and what the star is symbolizing. And as Swami explained, that the star is nothing but the Christ consciousness. It is the symbolic of Christ consciousness. And when we focus on it, when we go deeper into it, we can unite ourselves with that. So what is this star all about? That the star, you may say, is a symbolic of our own source, our own true nature. And why should we commune with it? Because this is where we have come from, and this is how we will understand what this world is all about. Because right in the beginning, if you see, Swami is writing and saying, what is the difference between a divine vision and a worldly vision? That divine vision is exactly opposite of the worldly sight. And he says that divine vision sees God's presence behind all outward appearances, whereas a worldly sight sees merely appearances. So what is the difference here? If we see, just about 2 weeks back, we were talking of this beautiful excerpt from Autobiography of a Yogi, where Yogananda was saying that how, by focusing in fact, this is one of the simplest techniques that he gave. He said, if you want to grow spiritually quickly, he said, always keep your attention on the spiritual eye. And that is considered as one of the bedrocks of our teaching, you may say, because this is the seat of Christ consciousness. If we keep our attention here more and more, slowly we will see that the whole world of delusion will start evaporating, and slowly it is going to dissolve. And it is, and how he put it actually in a paragraph, I want to read that. He said, by daily stilling my thoughts, I could win release from the delusive conviction that my body was a mass of flesh and bones. Now, this is actually a trap. It's a prison. And we hardly realize this, that by living in this world, that we are living in a prison, and only by stilling our thoughts, we can actually come out of this delusion. So, and the next he says, the breath and the restless mind I saw were like storms which lashed the ocean of light into waves of material forms. What are the forms? As we were singing, earth, sky, human beings, animals, birds, trees. These are the forms. And they are all coming from the same ocean of light. And what is bringing them up? The storm of breath and the restless mind. And then he writes further, no perception of the infinite as one light could be had except by calming those storms. As often as I silenced the two natural tumults, I beheld the waves of creation melt into one lucent sea, serenely dissolving into unity. Very beautiful words. Even if you read it 100 times, they will always give you joy, because they have been put very poetically here, that as often as I silence the two natural tumults. What are those two natural tumults he's talking? The breath and the restless mind. And once they become silent, he says, the waves of creation, all these are waves of creation, whether we see human beings, rivers, mountains, birds, these are all waves of creation. They melt into one sea, serenely dissolving into unity. So this is what we are going to talk about, and we will take it further, because in our last talk also. But then why should we do it? Because I was reading a very interesting paragraph, and I shared that in my morning meditation also, which actually came just incidentally as I was just looking at some of these excerpts which keep coming on YouTube. Here he's saying the one thing that will help to eliminate, these are again words of Yogananda I'm quoting, the one thing that will help you to eliminate world suffering more than money, houses, or any other material aid is to meditate and transmit to others the divine consciousness of God that we feel. Now, everybody wants to avoid suffering, and that is how Yogananda put it, that there are only two motivations which keep us motivated to continue to live in this world: to avoid pain and suffering, and to seek happiness and joy. So nobody likes suffering, but what happens, whenever the word suffering comes, and almost everybody has tasted suffering in one way or the other, whether it is on physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual plane. Nobody likes suffering, but what is the reflex action which we have? Whenever some suffering comes, the reflex action is to always bank upon resources, material aid, money, finances, and there is nothing wrong in that. And here he's saying, the one thing that will help to eliminate world suffering more than money, he's saying not the money, but he said more than money, houses, or any other material aid, is to meditate and transmit to others the divine consciousness of God that we feel. Every day, he says, radiate his consciousness to others. Try to understand God's plan for mankind, which is to draw all souls back to himself and work in harmony with his will. This is how he concludes. So, if you see, basically we have to do two things. We have not only to tune in to his consciousness, as we were praying right in the beginning, help us to tune in, and then help us to share, because we have to transmit to others the divine consciousness of God that we are feeling. And if we do this, he says, we can not only go beyond our own sufferings, but we can eliminate the sufferings of the world. Isn't this an amazing one small sentence where he says, you can help yourself and others. Every day, he says, radiate his consciousness to others. Try to understand God's plan for mankind, which is to draw all souls back to himself and work in harmony with his will. This is his will. Because at many times Yogananda said God doesn't like his play. Although he's churning, he says, era after era, yuga after yuga, but he says one part of him doesn't like this. And at the same time, he wants his children back. And that is the larger plan. And how is it going to happen? It is going to happen when we feel, first we have to tune in to his consciousness, feel that within ourselves, and then radiate it to others. Now, many times we may feel, oh, what can I do? Probably it is the job of only the ministers, those who come here and give a talk. But it's not like that. Yogananda was coming here and giving talks, but he was reminding everybody that everyone is a child of God. Each one of us has to radiate that consciousness of God. First feel and then radiate. And that is how we can go beyond the sufferings, not only of this world, but not only for ourselves, but for others also. And this is why when we are saying the Star of Bethlehem, that is how he started. So this is how, where is the star? How can we tune into his consciousness? First, we have to come to this point. First, we have to focus here and tune in to this window, or let us say the door of Christ consciousness. And through this door of Christ consciousness, when our mind is going to be still, we will receive his light, and then only we can radiate that. So this is, you can say, the theory aspect of today's satsang. But no satsang can be complete unless we have some practical tips also, because otherwise Yogananda could have just come and said, this is what you have to do, and he could have gone. But the beauty of Yogananda's teachings is that he has given practical tools which probably very few saints have given, because Yogananda, I was in, this thought was coming to my mind that why Yogananda chose to born on 5th January. Was it just a coincidence? Or was it he intended that he wanted to come right in the beginning of the year when a new year is starting? Because he was also giving a new expression to the Vedantic teachings which are already practiced here on Indian soil for thousands of years. So he chose to come right in the beginning of the year. And how he gave the practical tips. So how we can do that? So let us take a few thoughts, which, and I'll be sharing some from my own experience also, that how can we tune in to the Lord's light, to the Star of Bethlehem, and how can we go deeper into that? The first thing I think we have to understand that this universe is not a random existence, as the modern science makes us believe. It all looks to a layman or to an uninitiated man that it is all a mechanical existence. People are just toiling hard and they have to earn their livelihood and whatnot, and then go through pain and sufferings. So first of all, we have to understand that we are living in a conscious universe. There is a father and mother of this universe. It's not a random thing where we are just coming and going. There is a plan. Yogananda himself is saying, the plan for the mankind, God's plan for the mankind. So if God has created this world as a father or a mother, he certainly has a plan. Even this thought actually gives us a lot of solace in our hearts, that I am not alone. There is somebody to look after me. There is a larger plan. There is just when you have your parents, and if they are alive, you always have a backup. Oh, my parents are still there. They are thinking about me, and that is how this first step. So never believe in this scientific so-called understanding, which modern science is creating an atheistic society, sometimes Swami used to say. And the second step is, as we were talking of acceptance, right, in the affirmation, that whenever sufferings come, accept them, because something or the other is going to happen on one plane or the other. In fact, Yogananda said that miseries are a tool of God to break the delusion. Miseries are a tool of God to disillusion us from this world. Otherwise, who will go towards God if everything is always rosy? Because he wants his children to come back. So he says, something or the other, miseries, he said, is the greatest friend. So whenever something is happening in your life which you personally don't like, whether it is on physical level, mental or emotional level, thank God, accept it wholeheartedly. Whatever comes my way, that is what we were saying in affirmation. I'll accept God. I'll see it as coming from you. Because the moment you do that, in the affirmation itself, he says everything will happen for good for you in the end. Because the moment you accept it as it is coming from the mother or father, it is coming for some purpose. And then after accepting it, you need to take the next step, that, okay, Lord, this is where I am. I know you are running this show. This is not random. Some things are coming my way. Because when we accept it, that is why we say Vairagya and Viveka. These are the two birds, two wings of the bird, if it has to fly high. So if the bird of spirituality or our spiritual aspiration has to go high, then Vivek and Vairagya, they always go together. Because when the sufferings come and we accept, we say, okay, what next? And then comes the viveka and the wisdom. And probably we come and a nice book comes in our hands, which is helping us to, guiding us to take the next step. Or maybe a friend comes, or we talk to a friend and he tells us that, okay, let us do this and we should be doing, or we come to a satsang, or we come in a saint's presence, something will happen. It is that God will pick our hand and show us the next step. And then after that, you can say almost 30-40% of the thing you have already done, because you have shown courage, you have accepted, you did not lose heart even in that adverse condition. You showed trust in the hands of God. As Swami used to say, give God a chance, and he may surprise you for the good, actually. And something or the other, because this just reminds me of one incident which happened just a few days back. And my daughter broke her glasses, and she was having an important excursion the next day. It happened late in the night. There was hardly any time to go for a repair, and she was absolutely disturbed about it. That, okay, why it had to happen at this point? Papa, I have my holiday trip next day. And I said, it is 10:30. No shops are open. If the spectacles are broken, they are gone. I mean, let us wait for one more day or 2 more days. I don't know how much time he's going to take, but no matter how I was trying to console her, she remained disturbed throughout the night. And then ultimately we had to, in the night, I just tried to do as doctors. Sometimes they always have micro pore in their homes, and I tried to repair it. One of the arms was broken, and she said, I don't know how I'm going to wear it. Everybody will make fun of me. And I said, no, this is the best I can do. Let us, but I would suggest that you go for your excursion. You have prepared so much. You have taken gifts for your friends. Why to spoil it? It has happened, and nobody expected it. But anyway, she went next day, and she came, and even she could not enjoy her trip. She came back, and she probably didn't have her the food also properly, and she was disturbed in the evening also. Why it had to happen? And everybody was asking me, why your spectacle frame? What has happened to your spectacle frame? So I said, okay, no worries. Next day we went to the shop, and it was my holiday, and so. The guy also told him that it will take 3 days at least, because the new spectacle frames are not going to come immediately. We have to order, and then they come, it takes minimum 3 days. So, but in the meantime, he also said, but I can suggest that I can ask for some other, vendors. If they have exactly the same frame, then we don't have to wait for the glasses, because the glasses can fit if the frame is exactly the same. He was not having that in his shop. I said, okay, in the evening, you can give me a call if it is there. Otherwise, she won't go to school the next day also. But that guy actually, yesterday only he called me. He said, sir, I have got one frame is there. Please come and I'll put it. And then I gave her the frame in the night. I said, it is now there. So the new one will come anyways after 3 days. But at least now you have a better frame. You can go to school. And she was very much excited about it. But then she actually learned something in this whole activity. She's taking classes from Living Wisdom School. And there they teach a subject called wholeness. And in the wholeness, they talk about the holistic well-being, which is on physical, mental, emotional. And they give them assignments, and she always scores good in assignments. But then she said, Papa, something I have learned, because it's theory is something, scoring marks is one thing, but when it comes to the practical reality, I realized that I was not able to keep my calm when my glass frame was broken. I said, but it is good that you have now understood this fact. Because why I want you to study in this school is because these teachings will remain with you throughout your life. Such challenges, this is not the only challenge or the first challenge which has come. Similar challenges will come. They are bound to come. But this is one school which is preparing you to handle those challenges in a practical way. And how? This is exactly what we are talking here, because Yogananda is saying sufferings are going to be there. This is the tool of God to disillusion us from this world. But then he said, I'm giving you a technique by which you can not only get rid of your own suffering, but of other sufferings also. If you tune in to God's consciousness, receive the Christ consciousness, feel it, and share it. Who teaches that? Isn't it a greatest blessing that you have a guru who is teaching you how to go beyond suffering? Now, the only thing is that you already have a roadmap, and we just have to follow it. So with that thing, the next thing comes that once we have understood, okay, this is exactly what I have to do. I have to keep my consciousness here. I will do my best. The very important thing here is to prioritize in our lives. One of the richest man living on the planet is Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett, one time he said, make a list of your priorities in life. He said, maybe you will write down, okay, I have to get this job and I need to take this promotion. My kids should go to this particular school, or whatever priorities come to your mind, keep noting them down. And he said, okay, write down, make a list of about 20 priorities. And then he said, choose only 3 of them which you feel are most important to you. And then he said, once you have chosen those 3, he said, you can discard the other 17, focus only on these 3. So he was sharing something from his own experience. Now, it is very important that we in our own lives also make a priority list. And in that priority list, check in your mind, is communing with God one of the priorities in the top 3? Is receiving God's light one of the priorities in that top 3 list? Because otherwise, it's not going to happen. Otherwise, we are just, I think, buying time. Because imagine if a person has to get into a medical institute or a top-notch engineering institute or become an IAS officer, he has to prioritize in his life. Most of you, or everybody has succeeded in his life in one way or the other. You can actually see it from your own experience that without prioritizing, without giving your 100%, without thinking about it day and night, it would not have happened. So the next thing that we have to do is prioritize, make a priority list. And is communing with God a priority which is coming in top 3 or not? If it is there, you're very lucky. And then, or probably you have really understood well from the sufferings that have happened in the past, probably in the past lives or in these lives. And once you decide on the priority, day and night, because then only you will be able to keep your attention here, because there is a momentum of a restless mind which will keep on dragging us down. As we teach in Raj Yoga and we learn in Raj Yoga classes, that there is a force of the world which actually is a law of thermodynamics. If you see there is something that the school has taught us called entropy. What is entropy? Entropy is something, that if everything by nature has designed it this way, even atoms or subatomic particles, if there is nothing to keep them together, they will always go into disarray and chaos. So unless we apply a counter force to keep it contained and to keep it uniform and to keep going in one particular direction, it will require a force. Otherwise, entropy is the law of nature. It's something which physics teaches us, that it will disintegrate. The world will go into disintegration. We have to ultimately bring it back. Same way it will happen in our lives. After prioritization, we have to tune in to at the point between the eyebrows, keeping our attention here. And then he said, there are certain things which I sometimes practice. That one is that if you keep your attention here, you can even feel that you are breathing from this point. Every breath that we are taking is actually entering from the point between the eyebrows and leaving from the point between the eyebrows. Every now and then, even if you get 2-minute break in between, do it. Who is stopping you? Even if you're lying in bed, you can do this. Keep bringing your attention again and again at the point between the eyebrows, because this is the star of Bethlehem. This is the star of Christ consciousness. and there is a counter force which is acting on us. So we have to apply our own force to bring our thoughts here. The other thing that we can do is that, think of, in fact, I always look at Babaji's picture. Look at his eyes. He's looking, his eyes are lifted upwards. So if you visualize Babaji over here with his eyes lifted upwards, that creates a lot of magnetism, and it reminds you that you also have to keep your gaze uplifted. That's another thing that we can practice. There is another thing that I sometimes practice is that, as Yogananda said, thoughts are not individually rooted. Thoughts are universally present, which means that even if at any moment you take a snapshot of your mind, there is some narrative going on in the back of your mind. Something, mind is nothing but a flow of thoughts. So at any given moment, if you just take a snapshot, there are some thoughts. Maybe there are thoughts that whether my kids have come home, or whether they are having their breakfast, or whether I will make it this time, whether I will be financially secure, whether I'm going to, whatever it is. I mean, there is something going on in the mind. But if you see, even if you do a kind of dissection or just a analysis, what are the 70-80% of the thoughts, if you will see, they are on particular theme. If you will check if let us say almost 20,000-30,000 thoughts cross our mind, out of 70% of those thoughts will be on a particular theme, or 1 or 2 or 3 themes only. And probably, let us say, most of the thoughts are about financial security, or maybe they are about people, how they are interacting with us, or maybe about anything. So those thoughts which are occupying 70% of your mind is actually you can say the subject or the main lesson that we have to learn in this lifetime, and how we can quickly come over it. So what we can do is that allow these thoughts to pass through, and tell yourself that these are not my thoughts. I'm just picking them up from the ether. They don't belong to me. I am free. And I am free in my consciousness, and nothing can trap me. No thought can trap me. Because how are we going to go beyond the delusion of flesh of the body? That will come only when we become aware of the subtler energies. Now, this is very important, because body is gross, body is flesh. So, and since we are encased in a body, we see bodies around, so that it has become a habit of mind that we consider ourselves only as a physical body. But how do we break this delusion? We have to live in the subtler realms, which means that one may say, what is the astral body? Is the astral body only available to us once we die? No, astral body is right here. When we think and feel, we are using our astral body. But we just have to remain conscious of that my body is subtler. This is just a shell which is covering. And then that is why, if you want to become more conscious and aware of your subtler energies, that is why we chant Om at the chakras. Those who practice second Kriya, it's a wonderful technique to energize the chakras and also to become aware of the subtler energies. That is how, step by step, we are going to break the delusion of the body and flesh and bones, as Yogananda is saying, by daily stilling my thoughts. So those thoughts will be stilled by only allowing them to pass through and not taking care of them and reminding yourself that I am free. So these are some of the things which I have just talked. One can have any number of things to practice. But the bottom line here is that the real Christmas that we are going to celebrate, which Swami is reminding us here, the Star of Bethlehem. That Star of Bethlehem is symbolic of the Christ consciousness, and that Christ consciousness, it's our duty, if we will understand only if it is a priority in our life, that how we have to commune, how subtler it is only possible when we become aware of the subtle energies within us. And as Yogananda was saying that you will not be able to talk to the infinite unless you still your mind. This is some this is how he puts it, that by, if I repeat his words here, no perception of the infinite as one light could be had except by calming the storms of breath, the storms of the thoughts. And this is how, once we start calming them, if you see, the next step will be that ultimately we have to understand that we don't need a body to survive. We don't need, body is not essential for our survival. That is something what I think a devotee has to understand, that body is just a case. And slowly we have to understand that I don't need any body, not even an astral body, for my existence, because my existence doesn't depend on it. And that is how gradually, he said, you will attain. Once you will not overwhelm. In the next line, he says, a master bestows the divine experience of cosmic consciousness when his disciple, by meditation, has strengthened his mind to a degree where the vast vistas would not overwhelm him. Which is to say that once we will understand that I am not limited to this body, I don't need physical body, I am not this mass of bone and flesh, I am not even the astral body. Slowly and slowly, the whole universe is your body. That kind of understanding will come only step by step. So it can be overwhelming for a person who hasn't trained his mind by meditation. But gradually, he says, that is why the Star of Bethlehem is going to help us here, that by deeper, longer, thirstier meditation, if we will continue to focus here, this is the doorway to the infinity. We will be feeling his love, his light, and that we will be sharing. And that way, we will be transcending our all sufferings, and we will be able to share this light with others. And this is how the world's sufferings can come to an end. So let us celebrate this Christmas by practicing as much as we can, and taking it not only for this Christmas, but we can have Christ communion daily. We can have Christmas every day. Why should Christmas be celebrated only once in a year? Christmas should be celebrated every day and at every moment, in fact. So let us conclude this satsang by offering an arti to Lord Christ and taking his blessings.